Hey, remember the beginning of the year when the popular consensus was that the AFC North might be one of the toughest divisions in the NFL? I guess as the season goes on, that narrative still could play out, but it's certainly not trending in that direction as 3 out of the 4 teams in the AFC North this week took massive losses in week 4. However, the one team that didn't sits atop the AFC North, and that is the Baltimore Ravens, once again leading the AFC North, taking that spot from Pittsburgh. They are now 3-1 overall, 2-0 in the division. They now hold sole possession of first place. They don't need any tiebreakers. They don't even need to use that 2-0 divisional record right now, as 3-1 is enough to get it done as far as leading the division. They get a huge 28-3 win over the Browns in Cleveland. What immediately sticks out about that game, to me at least, was the Ravens defense making life miserable for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, rookie quarterback, in his first NFL regular season start. The Ravens defense got 3 interceptions, one of which set the Ravens up at the 10-yard line for their first touchdown, one that gave them a 7-point lead, and they never really had looked like they're going to relinquish that at any point in the game. I did talk about this game yesterday, obviously from a Browns perspective, but from the Ravens, I don't think you could have thought of this game going any better. The offense had a very impressive second quarter against a much hyped Browns defense. Their playmakers definitely forcing a good bit of missed tackles. Lamar Jackson was a force, scoring 4 total touchdowns, 2 over the air to Mark Andrews, 2 on the ground. Something that stuck out to me also about Baltimore's offense was their success running the ball in the second quarter. Their offensive line definitely getting a decent push in the run game during their dominant stretch. The Ravens offense, they weren't always clicking. There were plenty of stretches of play where they weren't putting up that many points or yards, but when when you have your defense only allowing 3 points, your offense doesn't necessarily need to put up 50 or anything. Right now, the Ravens definitely have the clearest path to winning the division, and it's still very early in the season. Baltimore still has plenty of impact players on the injury report that will need to come off of there if they do want to reach their true ceiling. But right now, as far as the best pure outlook, right now it's the Baltimore Ravens. Their next game is on the road against the Steelers, where they hope to pick up another divisional win on the road. And speaking of, the second place spot in the AFC North belongs to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 2-2 overall, 1-1 in the division. They took a terrible loss in Houston, 30-6 against the Texans. Definition of a momentum killer, at least in my opinion. Previous 2 weeks, they had beat a Browns team that I forget if they were Vegas underdogs or not, but a lot of the general consensus was that this Browns team should beat the Steelers going into that one on Monday night. Steelers get the win there. Then they have a very impressive showing against the Raiders in Las Vegas on Sunday Night Football. And to have a game like this now is just a bit disappointing. I know CJ Stroud and the Texans have looked better and better each week, but this wasn't just a young, scrappy team getting, some 2-minute magic and stealing a game by 1 or 2 points at the very end. This was just, getting your ass kicked by the Houston Texans. The offense was a pumpkin for the 3rd time in 4 games. Matt Canada apparently just telling the broadcast team that this Pittsburgh offense isn't built to come back from deficits in a game, which, this is the National Football League. There are going to be talented teams. You're not going to be working with a lead for the entire season. The Texans offense moving the ball on the defense for most of the game with pretty much with relative ease. Pat Freiermuth, his injury is a bit concerning. No official update, but there has been some rumblings that it might keep him out for at least a couple of games. The fact that that hamstring even required a scan does seem to show that he's going to be out for a little bit. You also had Kenny Pickett. That was a huge injury scare. But there's, at least the reporting there seems to be that he didn't tear his ACL. He's not going to miss months and months or anything. And at this point, with the quarterbacks for Pittsburgh, we know what Mitch Trubisky is. Not very good. I mean, he might be a solid backup, but if you're relying on him to start for any extended period of time, you're going to be in trouble. At least with Kenny Pickett, even though he hasn't shown a lot of consistent great play for the Steelers, there is a chance that he develops into something as he grows into his career. So with Kenny Pickett, he might even be back for next week, but it doesn't seem like he'll miss a lot. Even if he does miss the Ravens game before the Steelers bye week, doesn't seem like he'll miss any long extended period of time beyond that. The Steelers were also playing for the division lead. If they would have beaten the Texans, they would have occupied the number 1 spot in the AFC North. But they have to pick it up against Baltimore next week. So if the Steelers can take a game against Baltimore next week, then all will be forgiven for this game against Houston, but it's certainly not looking like it's going to be that way. Then in third place, you have the Browns, 2-2 overall, falling to 1-2 in the division. They were on the losing end of that 28-3 game against the Ravens. At home, too, the only AFC North team to play at home, and that is that's the performance that the Cleveland Browns crowd got to see. Defense showing cracks in the armor for the first time this season. Really only had one quarter that'll qualify as bad in that second quarter, but it was enough to put the Browns in a hole that the offense just had no chance of digging out of. Certainly the offense did not help matters either. I thought the offense was way more detrimental to this Browns game than the defense was. But moving forward, Cleveland just has to, I guess, hope and pray that just plugging Deshaun Watson in at quarterback somehow fixes this offense and gets it to get moving, and we've had mixed results at that for the Browns at quarterback, at the quarterback position. If Deshaun Watson gets injured or you can't play for whatever reason, the Browns are just screwed. That's just how, that's what this game showed. DTR looked pretty awful. The game management and play calling didn't really help him out, didn't seem to adjust to a rookie being in there. It did seem like the team and the coaches anticipated Deshaun Watson playing, and when that didn't happen, they didn't really do much to change the game plan around DTR. Man, I just thought that I knew that there would be some kind of drop-off between Deshaun Watson and Thompson Robinson, but I didn't think that DTR would look that bad and that unprepared and that just not ready for the NFL. And I don't think the Browns front office did either, because they certainly would have kept Joshua Dobbs if they knew that this was the kind of performance that DTR would put up in his first start. And they leaned a lot on him too, and maybe they had to, as in the second half they were playing 3 scores down. The running game never really got anything going, although it didn't seem like they were trying to make it get anything going. A lot of people, again, they're looking at Andrew Berry funny for the Joshua Dobbs trade. I do feel like that is a little bit of hindsight playing into it, where at the time, a lot of us were thrilled that Joshua Dobbs got any sort of draft capital at all. I mean, the silver lining here, I guess, is that they seem to have escaped without any major injury heading into the bye week. Yes, we saw Myles Garrett in a walking boot after the game, but according to all the reporting, he's still expected to be ready to go by week 6. However, that was the reporting with Deshaun Watson, was that he was expected to be ready to go, and that didn't work out either. You have center Ethan Posick. He's day-to-day with chest and knee injuries. Another issue, besides just trying to hope everybody gets healthy, is that even after this bye week, they had the 49ers coming to town in week 6. Cleveland, they're going to be very heavy underdogs in that game, rightfully so. I'm not sure how you could look at this game and think, even with Deshaun Watson coming back, that the Browns have a good chance of getting a W from that game. That's probably a loss there, and that means they fall to 2-3. Definitely not the expectations of what they had coming into this season. Again, still early, still a long season, plenty of time to turn it around, but early returns not so great for the Browns. And then still at the basement, it is the Cincinnati Bengals, 1-3 overall, 0-2 in the division. They lose on the road to the Tennessee Titans, 27-3. So with the Browns, at least you can say that the starting quarterback was out, but with the Bengals, it's a little bit of a different story, where Joe Burrow just isn't right at the moment. You can tell that the calf injury is really starting to bug him. Seems like Cincy really should have just let him sit out until that calf was fully healed. Even if you think, Jake Browning doesn't give you a good chance to win a lot of games, you might still be 1-3, and then you get a healthy Joe Burrow coming back. Now they're still 1-3 with a hobbled quarterback, playing nothing like the guy they just signed to a mega expensive 5-year extension. I actually don't think that extension is going to be in jeopardy or anything, or it's going to look terrible because he's playing bad while he's hurt. I think once Joe Burrow is fully healthy, then his play will definitely improve. But it's just going to be a matter of when will he be fully healthy. Is it going to be till next season when this calf scenario starts to heal up a little bit? He had Jamar Chase letting some frustration out in the post-game press conference, saying that, he's always open. Definitely not happy with the quarterback play right now. You had T. Higgins, who left the game with a rib injury. He's hopeful to be able to come back this week. He says he only fractured the one rib, which I think that's kind of funny. He only fractured one rib. Seems like at the very most he's going to miss a couple of games. Doesn't really seem to be out long term, so that's positive for Cincinnati. He had Derrick Henry with a dominant performance for Tennessee, and even if the Bengals defense held the Titans to something like 7 points, the offense wasn't getting anything going. The offense only put up 3 points, so even if unless the Bengals defense was going to pitch a shutout against Tennessee, which they weren't, then this was going to be a losing effort regardless. That's not to excuse the defense, but if I was a Bengals fan, the offense would be much more concerning to me from the perspective of what the Bengals need to improve on moving forward. So right now, again, the AFC North, They have 3 teams currently looking like they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and the one team that's at the top of the mountain, they took home a big win, sitting at the top of the division. You know, the Ravens, they definitely have the most optimistic feelings moving forward, at least the most realistically optimistic feelings moving forward. Still, again, a long season. Nothing is set in stone as of yet, but just maybe perhaps a little bit of a roadmap for what the division will look like is starting to take shape just a little bit. So thank you so much for watching. If you didn't make it this far into the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it, let me know what you thought about the AFC North action down in the comments below for this week, and I'll see you at the next one.